Hello and welcome to Engage Your Pioneer Gene. I'm Stephanie and I'm here again to talk a little bit about wildfire preparedness. We are once again in the studios of Go10 Gaming. So if you're over there and on Twitch, please tell Josh that Test Rocket says hey. I'm welcoming again my friend Chris, who's here to talk about wildfire preparedness. This is our third session on this topic, and we are going to get into some of the facts about wildfires in Washington State. I think it has an impact on how we prepare and why we prepare on this issue. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for talking with me and answering my questions.
Yeah, I wanted to, and I wanted to learn more about this myself because it has become a bigger issue in recent years. Yes. I did some research on this topic, and last year in Washington State, which was not the biggest year for wildfires, we had 17 large fires that burned quite a few acres. Only 4%, which for a while, they did this thing years ago in Yellowstone where if a fire was caused by lightning, they let it burn. And then they backed off from that because it was burning too many acres. But only 4% of our fires in Washington were caused by lightning strikes last year. 85% are caused by human activity. And the two things that cause the most are campfires and burning debris, which we can absolutely control how safe we are being with that. Yeah, I know it's great to go out and have a nice campfire when you're camping and out in the woods and all that, but you really do have to watch those fire danger signs and be prepared to have either no fire or a very small fire so that you can keep control of it.
Now, do you know where most of these fires were? When I hear of wildfires in Washington State, it's typically east of the mountains. Is that still the case?
Yes, that is. And you can see the specific sites that the DNR does a nice report each year and they show the locations of the fires.
Yeah.
What we normally have in our greater Seattle area that count as wildfires are more brush fires along the freeways or places where equipment starts the fire. So we do have that, and it is possible to have a wildfire type scenario in an urban environment where you've got maybe you've got a slope that's covered with grass. And if you look into this, it's really fascinating on the science of how the fires start, where you have a few weeks of hot weather, especially after a really wet spring where lots of grasses grow. And then the hot weather sucks that moisture out of them to a point where they're tender, right? Just any little spark. And not even a spark, but too much heat can ignite those grasses into a fire.
Yeah, I've heard where cars can just drive out into a field or something, and the catalytic converter underneath is so hot that it can actually start a fire.
Yeah. So it can happen anyway. Let's not add to that by being irresponsible with our fires.
Yep.
And it can make sense, if you've got that situation where you've got a grassy area that if I burn this, then I will not be adding fuel to the fire if it comes this way. But that sort of thing can really get out of control fast. So you want to make sure that you're doing that responsibly if you've got that kind of space. I know that's not totally our topic. I mean, I'm not going to do that in my 4th floor apartment, but other people. Yeah, it's such a big thing here. And even though most of what we're talking about is people who live in a fairly urban environment and don't necessarily have to worry about their house being impacted by a wildfire. If you live in that area, you probably know all kinds of things about defensible space and what kind of building materials and when to trim trees and all of that kind of stuff. But if you happen to be vacationing in an area that could be susceptible to wildfire, you want to have some plans around that because it can happen quickly. There's usually plenty of news happening about it. But of course, if you're on vacation, you might not be paying much attention to that. So just in traveling to areas that could have a wildfire, you want to have a plan for multiple routes out of there. You may be unfamiliar with the area. It's not like, your house and you can go in any direction because you know the area. You're someplace where you've taken one route in. You probably used your phone for directions, but taking a few minutes to just prepare a couple of evacuation plans. Now, you may, at the time that you have to evacuate, be able to get that information from people locally or from the news, do that and follow their direction, because they're going to know more about it than you just looking at a strange map. But having a plan in advance and making sure that you are prepared to evacuate an area, I think it's just a wise choice with the way things are now with wildfires. And then, you know, of course, even if you're on vacation, you want to have some kind of an emergency kit in your car, the same as you would any other time, but knowing that you may end up taking a very long route to get home. If the only safe way is the opposite direction of your home, it could take you a couple days to work around it and get to a place.
Oh, sure.
Home.
Yep.
And then, you know, if people know that you're traveling and they suddenly see that there's a fire and they haven't heard from you, they may be concerned. So you want to let people know the best you can that you have a plan. And if you are leaving an area, to send a text message and just let your people know that you're doing the best you can and what your plan is, what direction you're going, at what point you'll try and contact them again. You know, things like that can make a difference. You may have an out of area contact, so letting them know what you're doing so other people can check in with them. There's also Red Cross runs a website called Safe and Well. So you just go to that and you put in your information, and then other people can check it and see that you were, you know, where was your last known location, and you were fine then. You know, you can share that sort of information.
I've never heard of that. Safe and Well. Yeah, Red Cross?
Yeah.
You just go to redcross.com or something?
Or just search Red Cross Safe and Well. Yeah. And
okay.
Any major disaster that they respond to, they're going to put up that site and let people connect. So you just have to put in some basic information about yourself so that then other people can search for you and make sure you're okay.
Oh, that's a great resource.
It is. Yeah. You know, most of the time now we're so connected, and just a quick text message makes a difference. But once in a while, something happens and you get separated from your phone, or it's dead after 2 days, right?
Yep.
You're going to need another option. So that
or the infrastructure goes down for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Your text doesn't go through.
Yep.
You know, having been through just a couple of very minor disasters, I know that having the people who care about you know that you're okay, it makes the difference for you and for them, right? That we were in that windstorm of 2006, and I was a young single parent, and the last thing I said to my parents before my phone died was, "We are fine, do not come get us." 6 days later, when we got power back, it was you know, a lot of time for them to worry about us. So having a strategy that way can make a real difference. And then just stay calm. You know, you're gonna do the best you can. If you prepared in advance, that gives you what you need. And getting all stressed about it can, one, make you forget the plans that you made. And two, it just adds a level of difficulty that you don't need. So anything you can do to just stay calm in those scenarios is going to help you make better choices and get where you want to go. So you probably canceled your summer plans to go to Eastern Washington.
No, but when I do, because a lot of times you go to places and you go in a canyon or something, or there's one way in that everybody takes. I never considered, you know, looking for alternate routes out of some of those locations, or even going to the coast. A lot of times there's just one way into these coastal towns.
Right.
So looking to see if there are alternate ways to get in and out of a place is something that I hadn't considered before.
We'll definitely cover that in our show on tsunamis.
Exactly. Oh man, those tsunami signs just freak me out, because it's like, okay, there's one road in and you're going and they have these.
Everybody's going to be on it.
Everybody's going to be on it. It's going to be stop and go. It really makes you think. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, before we wrap up, I wanted to just say a few things about wildland firefighters. And this is something that I found. I grew up in Eastern Washington, and I've lived most of my adult life here in Western Washington. So people here, especially in the Seattle area, are not especially familiar with this. But in Eastern Washington, even though there are professional wildland firefighters and they work their careers doing this kind of work, they're very well trained and very fit individuals. Wow. There are also jobs for young people, often just out of high school. The people I've known who've done it have done it that first summer out of high school. If you can hike for a full day in the mountains, you are pretty much qualified to take this training. And you get a few weeks of training. You're going to, you know, dig fire breaks and things like that and swing an axe. that's a skill level. And these are, for many people, great jobs in an area where there's not the overabundance of opportunity like we have here. And you may be looking at the choice between working at a fast food place or getting this well-paying job. If you're a fit young person, this seems ideal. It seems like a lottery win. And so they take these jobs, a lot of them, and they can still be very dangerous. So anything we can do to limit wildfires, to manage them appropriately, to get the professionals where they need to be, allows us to protect some pretty young kids who got their whole lives in front of them. It's something not everybody knows about, and I wanted to bring it up here today to raise awareness about that.
Yeah, it seems like a good fit for those people that want to experience the outdoors and protect our environment out there. That sounds like a great job for a while.
It is, yeah. Especially, that first summer out of high school, you don't necessarily have a ton of options, and you may be going off to college in the fall or trade school, or just planning on getting a job that you may not be 100% excited about. So doing this for that first summer, or even every summer, it's a good paying job, and not always something everybody has an option for in those areas. I have such mixed feelings about it, because it is a good job, and those kids deserve great jobs, but it's also dangerous work, and lives are lost. So
and I get your point that when we're careless with fire and start these forest fires, these are the lives that are at risk when we do those things. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking about all these issues with me. I appreciate your support of me finally getting this thing done, and bringing some more awareness around wildfires and what we can do to prepare ourselves, both for the air quality and for other issues around it.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been taking notes, and I've got quite a few things that I can start taking action on. So I really appreciate your time.
I got some great research out of this too, and I'm definitely going to be making some changes to my plan.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Great. Thank you, Chris.